as a program, I think, I talked about it when I got here. I want a team that can compete for championships on a consistent basis. And to do that, to compete for championships, you're going to have to beat Alabama. As everybody said last year, what's the margin? Last year it was 6 points, this year it was 2, and hopefully we get one more shot at it.
They've got like 100 5-star football players on their defense. They have a defensive lineman that weighs 340 pounds and runs better than everybody on this call. 5-star recruits everywhere, and they play really physical. Damn.
I think Memphis played more mature than we did. I think that, which I don't even know exactly what that means, but they're more advanced than we were. And then sometimes morale doesn't need to be boosted. You need to boost something, but it's not always morale that needs to be boosted. And between now and tomorrow, I'm going to figure out what it is that needs to be boosted. And whether I'm right or not, we're going to boost something.
Well, like I told them, we're not satisfied by any stretch, but you can't ever apologize for a win.
We don't have to have the best players. We just have to have the best team. Our kids have bought into that.
Listen, potential is the worst thing you can have. Because that means you ain't done it. I hate the word potential. Somebody says you got potential to have a good team. That drives me nuts. That means I'm not coaching right and they're not playing right.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bretton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Voss on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, do we got a show lined up for the folks? Shane, on the last pod, I said, hey, if you haven't got your review into us at that SEC podcast at gmail.com. Send those on over. I woke up to about 20 emails. So, hey, I'll say it again. If you've given us that 5-star written review, or if you're waiting to do it, just go ahead and do that. Send that on over to that SEC podcast at gmail.com. We'll send you a beer koozie free of charge. Just our way of saying thanks. So, really do appreciate all those coming in. But how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. And just to continue on that note, Mike, we will read those on Friday. I didn't get to it last Friday, so get ready. We may have just a whole show full of reviews, but I appreciate everybody that did take the time to do that. I support. Hey, I'll tell you, the koozie pictures are coming in too, and that's what I love to see. I love to see cold beer and them things, especially on Saturday, supporting your team and everything. So they about been to every stadium now, so that's what I love.
Well, speaking of that, Shane, speaking of what we love, you've been seeing this, we don't want to go on a deep dive on Urban Meyer and all his shenanigans, but before we get into the show, we love to start with something fun if we can. And, hey, we love poking fun at Urban. And, hey, credit to this reporter who really – I couldn't believe he asked this thing, Shay, but during Dan Mullen's latest media availability, he asked him a question, and then just wait for the very end of it. I mean, it's priceless, and Dan Mullen's reaction, if you're watching on YouTube, even better.
And again, can I follow up on your competitiveness?
Yeah.
So with that said, TV cameras caught you smiling, almost like really enjoying yourself as you walked to do the handshake post game with Mark. Okay. Were you smiling at Mark, that you got me here, or what? I mean, it just seemed really off and out of character for you.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if you keep a camera on somebody, everything, you can still shot whatever thing that's going on in your mind, In my mind, at that point, I'm thinking about, everything that went on during the course of the game, what we did well, things we have to improve. I'm thinking of how I want to talk to the team, how we got to build it back up. We have a whole long season to go play ahead of us. I don't know. I mean, you could probably get if you keep a camera on me the entire game, you'd probably catch me doing all kinds of things that probably would be like, boy, I wonder why he's doing that at this very second. So
could be worse. You could be Urban, but I was just curious. Thank you.
All right, Shane. So, hey, he's doing better than Urban. At least he's got that going for him, isn't he?
Oh my God, this thing is spiraling, isn't it? I mean, I'm getting all kinds of reports out of Jacksonville that they're in there in the closed doors. You got them coming out with apologies. I mean, this thing got, it was already a train wreck before this shit got out.
Right.
But now we've got this video. It's front and center, and it's the face of the franchise right now. So Urban, there's the joke, the faking the heart attack and all that jazz when he was down there in Florida.
Right.
It makes you wonder what's going to happen here. A lot of people are anticipating him jumping to USC, but man, he's in some deep water right now, brother.
Yeah, and adding to it, Shane, I don't know if you went on this deep dive, but there's people that are reporting on the story. Of course, his excuse was he was out with the grandkids eating a nice dinner, and then these rowdy people wanted all these photos. Well, then they've went and investigated. His wife was actually babysitting the grandkids at the same time Meyer was out.
Gosh.
Hey, that doesn't sound to be the truth. And man, who knows what's really going on down there? But it's always a circus with Urban, isn't it?
Urban liar. That's why they call him. Hey, you signed up for it, NFL.
And I kind of want to tie all that into, the big first talking point before we jump around the league, Shane. We're seeing a lot of angst around the SEC and the high pressure, a lot of expectations. So we're no strangers to it, but three guys, of course, I wanted to zero in here. Jimbo Fisher at A&M, Dan Mullen at Florida, Coach O at LSU. All three of those guys, fan bases not exactly thrilled with those three at the moment after some early season losses. And, my guy Dave Bartu, who runs the CFB Matrix, he's given each of those guys a grade of -2 on the season. That's really that's really bad. At least this early in the season. There's still time to recoup from that. But if you aren't familiar with Bartu's metric, it's pretty simple. TLC, talent, how much talent you got on your roster, of course, how much talent the opponent has, the location of the game, home or away, and that's how you get your coach effect. So again, Dan Mullen, Ed Orgeron, Jimbo Fisher, all -2 coach effect early in the season, and that is the worst in the SEC. But, let's play these clips real quick, Shay, because basically all three of these guys are kind of like battling narratives in the media right now.
Right.
And then I'll get to my point here.
All right, guys, so we had a great meeting this morning, our staff, Tell the Truth Monday. I want to say this first. Ultimately, I'm responsible for the performance of this team. I've always been responsible, and I always will be. First and foremost, I want to get that point across today. Thanks.
Coach, why do you think, and this is the second time you said it, as respectfully as I can, why do you think it's necessary for you to say that you're responsible? What point
I just think it's clear that when things don't go wrong, obviously I get asked questions, and maybe they may sound like I'm trying to point the finger or something like that. And as you know me, Ed, and everybody knows me on there, that's not me. I'm going to take full responsibility for everything that happens in this program, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Okay. Back first season here after the Missouri game, you referenced wanting to win and compete with everything, and including thumb wrestling with a lot of passion. Mm-hmm. Is that same sense of urgency and motivation missing from the program right now?
Not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. I promise you that.
Yeah, Dan, I'm going to kind of follow up along those lines. Whether it's right or wrong, a lot of the fans feel like maybe you guys are kind of stalled out at that New Year's 6 range. What is it going to take for you guys as a program to push through and get back to that SEC title game and a situation where you can win it?
We were there last year, so.
But do you understand the concerns about the trajectory, given that you were there last year and now you're 5 games in, looking at a 3-2 record?
No, each year is independent of itself. A lot of different factors go into things from one year to the next. There's a lot of football still to be played this year, so we'll see how this year plays out.
Jimbo, how do you coach against allowing the negativity, the losing to penetrate the locker room?
You block it out. Turn it off. Turn social media off. Turn y'all off. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, you got to lock into that room and only in that room, and the people, family, and understand that at the end of the day, Listen, y'all are doing your job. Everybody has their opinions. Everybody's doing their job. Quit. When you write something good, don't listen. When you write something bad, don't listen. Move on. Eliminate the clutter. And that's you have to learn to do that. And in our society at this age and this young group, it's a very hard thing to do because they live, eat, and survive on it. They've got to learn to turn it off and understand that's part of growing up, that you're going to have to grow up and people are going to doubt you. They're going to love you. They're going to all based off what you do on a Saturday. And that's the world we're in. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what fans should do and it's what writers should do. But you have to eliminate and understand who's really with you and what has to happen and who's going to, how you got to listen. And when you have down times or bad moments, you got to circle the wagons and trust the people right there with you and that are in the trenches with you and play ball. At the end of the day, what you got to do. It takes maturity. And it's hard for guys, hard for young men.
All right, Shane. So, I really wanted to play these clips. And, my main point here, and I really, I thought about doing this on the last show, but I really wanted to discuss it with you. You can look around the landscape of college football, and I hate to even bring this up, but, Tennessee is a good example. Nebraska, Miami, Southern Cal. I mean, these are traditional powers in the sport that after a coaching changes, and all those, aside from Southern Cal, Pete Carroll left for the NFL, but obviously they still had to make a coaching change. Coaching changes have ruined those programs. And particularly when you think about, switching coaches after a couple of years. And, like I said, it's understandable to be upset. Particularly, I could see Coach O 2 years in a row not having a great team here. But, the grass ain't always greener, brother. And we can't sit here and tout the SEC as this juggernaut of a conference, which it is, and then be stunned when 1 year Dan Mullen wins the East and then the next year, loses to Florida and loses to maybe the best Kentucky team of all time. And, same thing with Jimbo. I mean, should they have lost to Mississippi State? No. Should they have lost to Arkansas? I think you could argue no. But, again, I think it speaks to the depth of the SEC West. And, hell, and I'm not calling you out on this because it's everybody and their mother. But even you on the last show said, hey, are we fight? Is Coach O even going to make it with this gauntlet they got coming up? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Shane? Because I'm a big guy that thinks, we got to let the season play out. And yes, we're looking at LSU's upcoming schedule here and we're saying, oh, God, I don't know if Coach O can survive it. But why are we judging it before he's even been played? What if he beats the vast majority of the upcoming opponents? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, golly, Mike, you want to talk about hot water? All three of these guys are in it. I always think of that old meme where it had the three lobsters are smoking a cigar. It looks like it's a hot tub, and then it backs out, and you realize it's over a campfire. It's just like these guys don't realize it, but they're in some extreme. They're in an uncharted territory, man. I think. I can't say they're exactly even either. Coach O was kind of a rumored hot seat coming into this season, and all he's done is put icing on that cake. I mean, it's just been a sloppy start of the season. We're going to hear some more comments from him later, but there's a lot of excuses coming out of Louisiana, and a lot of fingers being pointed. So, I think there is going to be yet another hire down there in LSU at the end of this season. Now, Jimbo, I don't think they're the same category. I mean, obviously, they just gave him an extension. They're paying him a shit ton of money. They do got confidence in their coach, but it's one of the most I would say probably out of all of them, the most frustrated fan base just because the expectations were so high coming into this season. And then you got Dan. One thing that hurts Dan is just his goofy personality. It's one thing to lose, but it's another to lose and come out and act like you don't care because you may care. Dan may care deep down inside where clearly he cares. He wants to win, but just his vibe, his persona. When you see Dan, it's frustrating because you want answers and you want this thing fixed. And I don't have the full confidence behind him right now when he comes out and make comments like this. So, it's two programs. All three of these programs are nowhere where they had higher expectations coming to this season, and now how do they rebound? And you can't just fire coaches, like you said at the start of this, man. If you make one bad hire, it will set you back a decade. I mean, look, you joked about Tennessee. Look, I'm not saying Lane was a bad hire, but when they brought Derek Dooley in, that literally set this program back 10 years. USC, same thing. You could argue that Lane Kiffin being out there set them back. There's just one bad hire. You can't just bounce back like you used to. And these storied programs, Texas A&M, LSU, Florida, these kids that are coming to these universities these days do not care about tradition like they used to. They're not going to these programs because their great-granddads loved it. They're going there because they want to get to the NFL. And if your games are getting pushed to noon or they're getting pushed to different channels, they don't want to play there. It's all about the money. And now I think more than ever with the name, image, likeness, that there is going to be a shift in college football, and it's going to be about who can pay and who can get me on TV the most. And if you keep losing games, you're going to start losing recruits that way.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the perfect example, like you said, one wrong coach or move sets you back. Of course, I think of Brent Zerneman. What did he tell us, Shane? If they didn't land Jimbo, they would have got Chad Morris. I mean, where would A&M?
Oh yeah.
That's just that just goes to show you that you just don't know until you hire the guy. I mean, that seems laughable at this point, but Chad Morris was a hot commodity. I mean,
look at Saban. Saban wasn't the first choice to Alabama.
Right. They tried to hire Rich Rodriguez,
Yeah, and how well's the sheriff doing right now, or whatever his damn nickname is?
So I don't know. I just think that's something to think about. And of course, I think, based on these three situations, Jimbo certainly, maybe, some people rolled their eyes when they gave him that extension, but, I think this is potentially a situation where, A&M can avoid all the hot seat talk and if nothing else, I think we've come to realize that at a lot of these schools, patience pays off. And you just can't be flipping coaches left and right because you're not happy with what just happened. I mean, hell, Texas A&M just had their highest finish since like 1930 last season. And yet people are upset. Dan Mullen, I saw someone the other day say, well, hell, Dan Mullen got bailed out by Kyle Pitts last year. Kyle Pitts was a 3-star nobody wanted. He turned him into the highest drafted tight end of all time. Let's not forget Trask. I mean, he had literally one scholarship offer. He's now a quarterback for Tampa Bay Bucks. Felipe Franks was a complete bust until Dan Mullen got his hands on him. And I think the thing with Dan, and you kind of hit on it, he's kind of an asshole. But it's just that's who he is. And he doesn't take losses well. He's never going to handle it right. And sometimes I think he doesn't handle winning with a class way. And I think of the Darth Vader costume, but that's just who he is. And he really is, at the end of the day, a really good football coach. And I would agree that, he got out-coached last week on the road at Kentucky, but that's kind of the beauty of college football, man. You just don't know what you're going to get week in, week out. And, let's not forget they got this quarterback, Anthony Richardson, who certainly looks like he's still hobbled, but let's say next season he's a legit Heisman finalist, maybe even the winner. I mean, how good is Florida going to be if they have that dynamic of a quarterback? And there's no guarantee that if they run Dan Mullen out, the next coach is going to know how to utilize his talent. And there's no guarantee with the transfer portal that Anthony Richardson is going to stick around. So, you got to take all these things into perspective before you start running a coach off. I really do think.
Yeah, it's that time of the year, Mike. Everybody's, when you're coming into the season and everybody's undefeated, you never feel, that's the best you feel about your program. Then when you drop one, you start questioning things, and then you drop the second, you start blaming people. And I feel like that's where these schools are at. Now, let me ask you, I think this is going to be an easy answer. Out of these three, which one's getting fired first?
We just had a whole segment on keeping these coaches there. Now you're like, who are we firing?
I know. I want to be realistic here. If you had to put money on it, which one's getting the boot?
I mean, I think you'd have to say Coach O, as much as we love him, and I think a lot of it has to do with the, the off the field issues. But even that, I struggle with, because I look at this team and I see a ton of potential. Obviously, they're not reaching it all, but particularly with the freshmen and sophomores on this roster. And that's not to say the next coach couldn't, maximize that talent even more. But I think you run the risk, if you're LSU, of not getting the most out of those freshmen and sophomore if you get rid of Coach O, because who knows who's going to stick around with the transfer portal. So
right.
I see a potential SEC contender on this roster in a year or two, and there's no guarantees that that's going to happen. But I will say this of LSU, and they've won 3 national championships in recent times with Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron, and I think that gives that program a ton of confidence that, as long as it's not like you could just hire anybody, but as long as you got a qualified coach down there, you should be an SEC and national championship contender. So, and maybe that speaks to that the program really is greater than any individual coach down there.
So let me ask you one last question, Mike, and I'm gonna put you on the hot seat here. All 3 are gone at the end of the season. I don't think it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I truly think we're overreacting a little bit here. But let's just pretend that all 3 open up and you go out and you're looking for a coach. How would you rank these jobs? Like, you just kind of, I think you tipped your hat a little bit there with LSU. But in order, if you were a new coach, everybody wants you. Which one is, I guess, if you're looking at their resumes, that you would want to hire first?
You're saying of these 3 coaches or these 3 programs?
No, the 3 programs. Yeah. Like, you're just I don't want to put any names out there or anything like that, because there's plenty of them floating around. But let's just say you're an NFL guy. You're you're getting heavily recruited to the college league. There's 3 openings in the SEC. There's LSU. There's Florida. There's Texas A&M. In your order, which one is the most attractive?
I think I'd go with Florida, and the main reason why, because this is a tough decision. They're all elite level. They're all in fertile recruiting grounds. But the one thing that Florida's got that LSU and A&M don't, and maybe this will be changing with with the divisions potentially going away, there ain't no Nick Saban in the East. And I really do think, until he's out of there, or until Alabama takes a step back, hell, Coach O's won a national championship 2 years ago. People are fired up.
Yeah.
If let's say Jimbo and the Aggies get destroyed on Saturday against Alabama, there are going to be upset fans once again. So I realize Georgia's in the East, but I think Florida's proven historically they can compete with them. And hell, they just beat them last year. So yeah, I think Florida right now, in my opinion, I would go with that. I think the path to Atlanta is a lot easier in the East than it is in the West right now.
One last question, Mike, before we get on. Now, I do want to ask you about all this is going on in my head here. I feel like Dan isn't at his dream job. I don't know if that's your take on it, but I just feel like this, with the rumors of the NFL and everything like that. Do you see Dan in Gainesville in 4 years? I'm not thinking I don't think he ever gets fired, but I do think there could come a point he actually leaves. So I'm just curious, your thought is this a forever home? Because you'd love to have everybody wants a Nick Saban. Everybody wants a coach to come in there, coach there for 10, 15 years, win a few national championships, always be competitive in your conference. That's what we all want. It is so tough to be, because you look around the landscape of the SEC, how many coaches we just constantly revolt. We're looking for that perfect coach. And I do think Dan is elite. I do think that he's a good fit down there in Gainesville. However, I just get that vibe, too, that he doesn't want to be there sometimes, especially in the offseason. And now, with a little heat on him, with 2 losses, we're just now starting October. It makes you wonder, is he going to be one of the first guys that takes the opportunity to go somewhere else?
Yeah, that's historically who he's always been, trying to get his name involved in other programs. Now, he was at Mississippi State, and, historically that is an incredibly difficult place to win. you're behind the eight ball because you're in Nick Saban's division, because you're in LSU's division. Both Mississippi programs, I mean, that was a heated rivalry at the time. Then you throw in A&M in there, and Arkansas was, they've had their ups and downs, but basically the entire time Dan Mullen was there, Arkansas was competitive. So maybe that had a little bit to do with it, but it's translated to, like you said, the Florida Gators. I mean, now that he's having success, he's eyeing the NFL, and he's a Northeastern guy. So what happens if, the Penn State job opens or the Michigan job opens or something like that? Would he be intrigued by those? He tried to get hired on at Michigan one time when he was Mississippi State's coach. Would he again? I think he would jump at an NFL job as well. So, yeah, I kind of get that feeling, and it's. I don't think it's a reflection, honestly, of the Florida program. I think it's a reflection on him and his. He's just like he's an interesting guy. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't seem like recruiting is his main thing. He seems like he's a X and O's genius. And that suits NFL better. And maybe that suits Big Ten better. I don't know, but hell, I certainly wouldn't want to run him off if I'm the Gators, because I know things are bad this week and it's doom and gloom and all that, but I really think he's one of the top 10, if not top 5 head coaches in college football right now.
All right. Interview's over, Mike.
Well, all right, buddy. We went and burned all that time. You ready to go around the league?
Oh, there's other teams? Let's do it.
Now let's go around the league.
What is 12 personnel? I got to get up 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers, or 1? I'm just kidding. I know what 12 personnel is. So,
worry about playing Alabama. I can't figure out whether or not the Big Ten and Pac-12 are going to yo-yo around and play football with us or not. I mean, they're playing great. Love it. Love the game. Awesome game. It's unbelievable for our country. It's great for our universities. It's great for our towns when we play. It's great for our young men. I personally think it's the greatest game in the world. So if they elect to play, great. If they don't, that's on them. I got enough crap to worry about with preparing for Alabama and figuring stuff out at Mizzou. So
the team is in great spirits. I know there was a lot of doom and gloom. I saw and heard a lot about how the hopes of our season hinged on the results of an MRI, and frankly, that's bullcrap. We've got a hell of a football team, and whether one guy's in or out, we got 117 other guys that are ready to step up no matter who's out. We got Kevin.
All right, I'm not a big opening statement guy, and plus you guys are going to ask whatever you want to know anyway. So let's just go ahead and get started. Is there any questions?
Young man from Destrehan, Louisiana. Hold on a second. Hey, guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you. Great young man.
So, hey, I've been waiting for this one for you, buddy. Tennessee hosting South Carolina this weekend in Neyland Stadium. It's going to be another nooner for these two, but historically they've played things close year in and year out. Doesn't seem to matter who the coaches are. Obviously, the players changing over left and right, but I was going back and watching this Troy game this morning, and man, I'm disturbed because South Carolina, it's almost like LSU. They have no faith in their offensive line. They can't run it up the middle. They can't run it in between the tackles. And this is Troy they're playing. I mean, this ain't Alabama or Georgia they're playing. Damn near every run they have is a sweep or a reverse or some kind of thing to go on the outside, just because their line is just not holding up against anybody. And then here you got Tennessee, one of the better run defenses in the SEC, so that doesn't necessarily bode well for the Gamecocks, but they do lead the SEC in 14 forced turnovers, and that'll be critical to this game going on the road and trying to get their first road SEC win. But let me ask you this, Shane, because this is something Shane Beamer was asked about today during his press conference, but obviously with Josh Heupel and Shane Beamer both being in their first years, they've been going head-to-head on the recruiting trail quite a bit. They've been going head-to-head on the transfer portal recruiting quite a bit. So, the first game, I'm not saying it's like going to make or break either program, but I think there's a lot on the line for both of these to kind of be able to prove to everybody that, hey, look, we are further along than them. And I think that's going to be vital for their success on the recruiting trail this week. Do you buy into that?
No, I'm with you, Mike. And I'll tell you, it feels like a tale of two programs right now. I don't think at this point, here we are, October 5th, you're listening to this on the 6th. At this point, I don't think momentum has been higher than it is in Knoxville for many, many years, brother. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, the hype train is real. These guys are excited that the offense finally has found their identity. They're moving the ball. South Carolina on the other side of the game, I think they need a major rebound or they are going to spiral. They're on the verge. They barely won this damn Troy game. They should have lost it 2 or 3 times the way they were playing and just giving the ball away. So that part has me worried, especially with a young Coach Beamer here, that if these guys lose and lose ugly, it wouldn't surprise me if South Carolina loses out. I don't know. I don't have their schedule ahead of me, but it feels like the morale's going in the wrong direction. Now, it's big for Tennessee. Because, I feel like we secured a bowl game beating Missouri last week. But like I said, it's all about the offense. So when you look at these two programs, a lot of people don't think about South Carolina's defense, but South Carolina's got a nasty little defense at times. Right. I don't know how many defensive touchdowns they got, but it's got to be close to the top. These guys will capitalize if you make a mistake. So that's their best shot, is getting Hooker rattled.
Yeah,
that should be on the front page.
We talked about that all last week with the Missouri-Tennessee game. That was the one that each of those teams needed to make that potential postseason bowl. But this is a game where you lose all that momentum, kind of like you're saying. Because this is one where you're looking at the schedule, you're counting it as a win if you're Tennessee, because you're at home, because it's a South Carolina program that's in rebuilding mode. And you stand to lose all that momentum if you drop this one. So there's pressure, I think, on the Vols. But let me ask you this, because this is something that I hit on the last episode as well. We're seeing the effect of home field advantage and the value of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure we're going to get that from the Tennessee faithful. I know there's going to be plenty of fans show up, but it isn't, like I said, it's a noon game. It's South Carolina. What was the biggest home game so far for Tennessee? Pitt. And I don't want to say they laid an egg, but of course they lost that game, and I don't think it was a sellout. I think it was a pretty nice stadium. But what are you anticipating from Vol Nation? Because like you said, they're buzzed, they're feeling good. I think Tennessee really, really, really needs the fans to show up in full force, because like I said, the South Carolina, Tennessee are historically very, very close, and the home field advantage could be the difference in this ball game. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it was a deflated program, Mike. When we lost to the Gators, it's always seemed like a downer right after that one. It just takes a little while for us to rebound. But I told you the fact we were able to hang with them for so long helped us going into this week and just building confidence with this young team. They continued to do that in Mizzou. These kids are having fun. I'm telling you, these fans are having fun. Have you ever been – you probably never been caught up in a Twitter war with the University of Tennessee. And if you haven't, I'm telling you, these guys are excited. So I don't think crowd noise is going to be a problem at all. In fact, I think the university is even trying to orchestrate some additional crowd noise, bringing out the black jerseys and making this thing a bigger deal than it probably looks like on paper. So, I think we're going to be fine here as far as crowd noise. But like you said, I will say, Mike, it has been – look at the Kentucky-Florida game. If we played this game in 2020, Florida would have won that game. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the crowd noise was involved, I'm not expecting Neyland to get that rowdy, but they could. I'm telling you, a lot of things happen when you score 50 points. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm not ruling it out. So this is going to be a really tough ball game, and a lot is on the line for both of these programs.
Yeah, and one area we have not yet mentioned, Shane, the special teams. South Carolina special teams has been playing some really good football here lately, and Tennessee, they started strong, but they've been making mistakes left and right in special teams the last couple of weeks. Of course, you know, it's 2 games ago. What do they have? Like 9 players on the field for, I guess, Florida at one point. And so I don't know. That is Beamer ball. I mean, I really do believe that's a thing. So South Carolina could potentially have the edge on the special teams, and that's how you go on the road and steal a game is by making big plays in special teams.
I'll tell you, Mike, I haven't heard a lot of name, image, likeness stories coming out of South Carolina, but if anybody deserves a house, it's Parker White. I mean, this kid is automatic. So, right, if this thing came down to a field goal, I'd give them a nod. No, not even close.
Mm-hmm. And when you look back at the offense the past 5 weeks, the running game really started to break loose in the second half last week, but particularly with the inside zone, runs up the middle, just what has been the problem there about trying to get that on track early and getting it on track for good?
Yeah, certainly we have to be able to do that. You know, against Kentucky, there's a 380-pound nose tackle that is hard to move. That would be one thing with them. Troy built a little bit differently, and you know, a couple times on some zone plays, their linebackers do a great job of Troy's, fitting it and coming off when they say a double team coming off, and we got to be better with our eyes and coming off the second level of blocks. And really, David, it's sustaining blocks and just finishing plays and straining to finish and keep your head in the right hat placement and not give up a gap and things like that. So, you know, every week is different, and like I've been saying with the run game all along, it's a combination of things, whether you're running counter schemes, gap schemes, outside zone, inside zone, pin and pull. You know, it's a host of things, and running the ball inside and up the middle is no different. But we got, you know, Vershawn Lee was our player of the game, talented guard. Eric Douglas is a leader on this offense at center. Javon Gwynn's leader of this offense at guard, and you know we trust those guys on the interior. We've got to be able to run the ball downhill and move people, but also put together a scheme each week that gives those young men a chance to be successful.
Shane, with you and Coach Heupel coming in the same offseason and both programs apparently coming off a similar 2020, there's probably going to be a lot of comparisons of the two programs, not just this year, but in the next few years. You think that's a fair comparison?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you guys, that's better for you guys, but certainly similar programs. You know, both didn't have years last year that they wanted to have. Both programs were, you know, affected by attrition, people leaving the transfer portal. Obviously, they've got 2 guys that would be on their offense right now that are playing at Oklahoma, and they've got 1 guy on their defense that's starting at Alabama, I guess, and the same could be said for us with some people that left this program. We've certainly been aided by additions to our program from the transfer portal, and so have they. I mean, they lost some good players in it, but man, they've added some really good players as well. So it's probably a fair comparison, but I'm sure Coach Heupel would say the same thing that I'm saying. I mean, I'm not worried about competing necessarily with Tennessee 365 days a year. We're trying to do what we can do to make our program the very best that it can be day in, day out, and we're all chasing the same goal, and that's to be playing in Atlanta one day for the SEC championship, and they're working hard just like we are to get that done.
Looking at South Carolina, what are some of the challenges they do offensively and defensively for you guys?
On the defensive side of the football, they've been really good up front. They've created turnovers. They attack the football. We got to do a great job of taking care of it the last 2 weeks. That's been really important, done a good job. There's things that we've pointed out on film where the ball is loose, and you got to be ready for a defender to be there, and we can be more consistent, better with the football in our hands. Offensively, we got to do a great job of dominating the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to be critical in this football game, force them into third and long situations, and then be able to play really good third down defense. And that can be, base 4 down, or it can be bringing pressure, or it can be drop 8 too. I didn't think we executed early in the football game the way we're capable of on third down.
Just what have you seen from Hendon over the last couple of games? Seems like he's really starting to hit a stride, both from an efficiency standpoint and taking care of the football.
Has been better taking care of the football with the ball in his hands. Some of our meshes have been better, more consistent. I think that happens as you get more time on task together with the same guys. I think as much as anything, great comfort and understanding of what we're doing, the tempo. He's been really in control of what's going on at the line of scrimmage. Been really good with his eyes, and that's allowed him to be really decisive with the football. Was extremely accurate the other day. A lot of that stems from eyes in the right place, seeing things really clearly. That allows you to get your body in the right spot.
Coach, I'm not an NFL scout, but you probably don't have the most talented front seven in this league, but the run numbers have been really good, with the exception of Florida. Can you just talk about the job Coach Banks is doing and how you guys are getting that done?
Yeah, defensive staff has done a phenomenal job, starting with Coach Banks. His ability to get buy-in from his players, trust from his players is where everything starts in the whole process. But then his ability to be multiple, with what we're doing on all three levels of the defense, from front to the alignments in the second level to our coverages on the third level, and being able to incorporate it and teach it in a way where kids understand it and can reason it out as things change with what the pictures you're seeing on the offensive side of the football. Sounds easy, it's really difficult. The ability of all of our coaches to be great teachers and to allow our players to understand the fundamentals and technique that we want to play with. It's a unique group over there on the defense side of the ball. They've done a phenomenal job, starting with Coach Banks, but to the assistant coaches as well.
All right, Shane, the other game I wanted to preview with you here is your second favorite team, so I had to do it. LSU at Kentucky here on Saturday night. Once again, it's going to be rocking there in Lexington. They've officially announced it's going to be another sellout. So these fans are feeling good. They're probably still in our mentions from over the weekend here. But, a lot on the line. But I think everybody and their mother is going to be picking Kentucky to win this ball game. But still, while LSU's been struggling, they're going to have a major advantage when it comes to overall talent in the match. I think, the fact that Kentucky keeps winning, but I think we're overlooking the fact that the offense is, it's struggling, brother. Outside of Wan'Dale Robinson making big plays from time to time, and Chris Rodriguez is showing up every week if he's not fumbling. But still, Will Levis continues to turn the ball over. I mean, he had thrown the interception that set up Florida's field goal that was eventually blocked and returned. I mean, that was the difference in the ball game. But if not for that, I think we're sitting here saying another interception killed Kentucky and may have lost them that football game. So I don't know, Shane. I think this is a little sneaky of a matchup here because I think LSU may be able to take advantage of Kentucky's secondary a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you could play this a couple different ways. And for starters, I'd like to again thank all the Kentucky fan base for accepting my apology. So a lot of them are just begging that I don't make them the lock of the week. A revengeful bet. But I'll tell you, man, Kentucky, it's not been pretty, but they find a way to win each and every week. And my only concern is that sloppy play could catch you any game. And it's about caught them in 3 straight games, Mike. And that's something they can't afford to do. You should not come into this game confident. I don't give a shit who's favored. If they favor you by 3 or 4 touchdowns, prime example, throw in the UT Chattanooga video. There's no reason that this program should ever come into a game confident that they're going to win. And that's how they keep winning. That's how you keep winning is game prepping. You hear that same old stupid slogan, it's a game at a time. Well, sometimes it's easy to say that, it's harder to do, and I think that's what Kentucky needed because they've had some humble pie along the way. I think they come in, they focus on LSU because you got an LSU team coming in here right now with their back against the wall. If Coach O is hiding any type of play calling, if he's got a player that may be kind of hurt or something like that, they all playing this week because LSU needs a victory. So this is a dangerous program because they got nothing to lose. Kentucky's the only team that's got anything to lose this week out of this game. So
yeah,
There is a lot of pressure on this
Yeah,
one.
and it's such an interesting spot because you would have thought that would be flipped going into the preseason, but
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not sitting here saying Kentucky's got a horrible defense or anything. They're playing better and better on that side of the ball. But in the SEC, Florida is not really dynamic passing attack. We just saw that. South Carolina, they really struggled to throw the ball, and I mean the team that you face with a good passing attack, Missouri, just kind of sliced and diced you up. So that's why I'm a little concerned that LSU, Max Johnson, if they rebound, if they're able to have a consistent performance here, they could be going into a game, and it's just like you said, man, they have got nothing to lose in this matchup because everybody's going to be picking them to get blown out by the Kentucky Wildcats. But as good as Kentucky is, LSU's got the talent advantage across the board here.
That's what Kentucky's got to do. They got to slow this game down. You got you're talking about an offensive line that really has emerged. It is the Kentucky Wildcats. This running game, you're going to need to lean hard on it. The last thing you want is Will and Max Johnson getting into a shootout. That plays favorite with LSU big time. That's what Coach O wants, So just Will Levis, I love him, man. I mean, he comes out, he's eating bananas without peeling them. He's putting mayonnaise in coffee, whatever. I don't care what little trick or video or story I've got to hear this weekend. I want to hear a boring game. If Kentucky wants to win this thing, you're not going to do it by being sexy. You got to do old school Kentucky football, and you can win this game. If you get in a shootout, man, LSU's going to take your lunch.
Talking about the offense, what did the film show you about the offense?
Just so many opportunities. And again, you've heard me talk a lot, John, about, play here, play there. With an offense, you can't afford to do that. Not in the SEC against a quality defense. With a great defensive coach, great players, you can't miss things when they're there. When we try to come back to them, they're fixed. Whether we exposed it or not, and that's what good coaches, good teams do. There were some plays there. Maybe we missed it. Quarterback's eyes were in the wrong place. We come back to it. It's no longer there. You can't miss those opportunities. You got to hit them at the right time, the right moment. We're still just a bit off there. But again, we're doing the right things. What I see is I'm very positive. We're doing the right things. It's going to happen. Will's going to play better, but I believe in what we're doing and the whole group, and it'll come around. Yeah.
They're young, they're impressionable. They've just been patted on the back about what they've done on Saturday. How can you realistically expect them to kind of get back down to earth?
Because we've been humbled already this year, with our play, and I always tell the players that in our business, you're going to get opportunity to be humbled every 7 days. And, we have been humbled, and, fortunately we were able to get away with a win, but we haven't played our best football, so they see the proof. Now I hope they're just hungry, and I believe they will be.
You were a young defensive coordinator at one point. What can Liam, as a young offensive coordinator, learn from Saturday, especially going up against somebody like Todd Grant?
He'll learn with every opportunity. Liam's bright. He's got to stay confident, stay with what we do. I'm very confident in him, Will, and the offense, and those are scars. You know what I mean? Those are that's what happens. You become a better coach by tough times. You don't forget those moments. You learn from them, and this is a big boy league, and certainly play some really good defense. And so you got to stay confident, stay with what you believe, continue to do those things. That doesn't mean you learn. How many times have I been accused of being hard-headed? It's not that. I always say I want to learn, but you also have to stick with and stay with what you believe and what you know is right. And then also open your eyes and find your blind spots and where can you improve.
Hey, Coach, good morning.
Morning.
Jay Peets, real bright guy, highly recommended. His first time being an offensive coordinator. During your preseason games and whatnot, did you guys really practice calling in plays and everything?
Sure.
And did you feel like you had a good grasp on that?
Yeah, we practiced calling in plays. In fact, because we had two new coordinators, our team periods, mostly our team periods are scripted. But in camp, we went one team period scripted, one team period not. We let them call plays. We worked on taking the field with 25 seconds left. That's called in the winning edge. So most of those things have been worked on.
It's more challenging during a game with the crowd noise and the chaos.
I'm sure it is. You know, Jake's trying to do a tremendous job. I believe in him. There's just a couple of things that we got to get fixed.
Hey, Coach, talking to Max after the game on Saturday, he was very frustrated, obviously, as he should be. I'm just wondering, with him, the whole offense, the team, where's the trust and the faith level for Jake Peets as a play caller?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I got to take the responsibility for that. I got to talk to the team, talk to the offense, and I'll continue to talk to them on the things that we have to get fixed. There's some things that are very fixable. You know, we just need to settle down. Mostly just call the play and let it go, and not try to change the play. I think that's where we're getting into most of our problems. I think it's not that the guys are not working. It's not that they're not trying. I think they're trying a little too hard. So we need to simplify what we're doing on offense and let our players play.
All right, Shane, I lied. One more. Let's kick it on down to Tuscaloosa College Station, where we got Alabama and Texas A&M. And, man, this game, because of the Aggies' struggles, obviously has lost so much luster. It was a couple of weeks ago. They announced this is a sellout in Kyle Field. It's CBS on SEC, the game of the week in the SEC. At least that's how they all planned it. But now we've got a red-hot Alabama, number one in the nation by, I think, both polls currently. And, man, I don't know. It's hard to get hyped up for this game, but as depressing as that may sound, I'm wondering, Shane, if you think, does that help Texas A&M? Because there's not pressure to win this game. It's not, you're not going to get a week of hype and a week of crazy dumbasses like myself picking you to pull off the upset. I mean, everybody's going to be picking Alabama. Alabama traditionally has dominated A&M. I don't know. In a weird way at all, does that help the Aggies at all this week?
Abso-freaking-lutely, Mike. I'm telling you, if you told me to pick one game in the offseason that I'm most excited about watching, it would have been this one. But you asked me this week, it's not the best game this week, if you ask me.
Right.
You know, it's just that's where we're at right now. But that, like you said, the pressure's off. I mean, they're watching the same film that we watch. They're going to think they're going to come in there and they're going to steamroll Texas A&M and get a victory and go home. Texas A&M has no pressure. They don't. If they want to try some new stuff, this is the week to do it. I think that plays a huge favor for the Aggies. So, I mean, we're going to see how this thing. I'm kind of surprised CBS didn't flex out of this thing and say, hey, let's put somebody in there. But you're still in prime time, baby. So, I mean, there's still going to be a little added pressure being the 3:30 game on CBS. So, but yeah, this one I think plays in favor because they could sit back and they say, you know what, let's just have fun, man. Let's give these boys a hard time. So I don't know. I am kind of looking forward to this game still, but it does suck that we've got a 2-loss Texas A&M team going in.
Right. And actually, Shane, they've made this a doubleheader weekend in CBS. So this is going to be a night game on CBS. But I think again that.
Oh, is this a night game?
Yep.
Oh, okay. My
yes,
bad.
sir. So it'll be Georgia at Auburn will be at 3:30, and then this Alabama at A&M at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Oh, okay.
But I think that helps the Aggies even more because you're getting a rowdy crowd, a sold-out crowd. And, the key, well, one of the main keys, of course, I mean, there's many keys to Alabama's success. But so far this season, they have just been jumping on people right out the gate. And I think that's the only way A&M wins this game. You got to prevent Alabama from jumping on you. You've got to give the fans hope early in this game because, they damn near won them the Mississippi State game last week, just how loud and intense they made it. And, hell, if you're an Aggie, you already bought your tickets. You might as well show up and go wild in this one, and maybe you'll see a historic matchup here. And, Zach Calzada, I continue to say, it's not like he's this horrible player. It's just like he's just missing, open touchdown here, but he's just barely missing them. And who knows? I mean, if this is the week he puts it all together, I mean, that's an incredibly tall task going up against Alabama. But if he's able to put that together, I mean, hell, I think he's only started 3 games in his career. So we shouldn't be like just throwing him out to say, he just can't play at this level. Who knows, man? Maybe this Saturday night, it was the legend of Zach Calzada will be bored. and that puts you right back in the thick of things in the SEC West. And this has been a crazy, crazy season already. And the craziest thing of all would be Alabama going down to the Texas A&M Aggies. But if you go to strictly talent, I know Alabama's got better talent than Texas A&M, but it ain't by much, brother. I mean, the Aggies are right there. You know what?
They ain't got the SEC championship. You know what I'm saying? This is their championship game.
Right.
That's the way I would present it if I'm Coach Jimbo. It's like, hey, listen, boys, all eyes are still going to be on us, and they're going to remember what we do tonight. They're not going to remember what we did the last few weeks or what we didn't get accomplished. This is the night they're going to let this be the night that you finally have somebody dethrone Nick Saban. I mean, that's the championship. That's all you need right there. That's the rat poison you need all over your lockers down there.
And could you imagine, Shane, if somehow Texas A&M does it and then they come out and they extend Jimbo once again a week after all this hot seat talk? You know what?
Absolutely, man. That'd be awesome.
Was there any update on Jason McClellan?
Yeah, Jace has got a knee. He'll be out for the year. He's going to have surgery tomorrow, so he's out.
You guys have started just about every game pretty strong. Why do you think that is in terms of offense and defense?
Well, I guess it says something about good preparation, and the players have good intensity to start the game. I think, what we keep talking about is how can we sustain that? How can we, keep that energy level up for 60 minutes in a game? Hopefully, we learn a lesson about it's not just how you start, but it's how you finish relative to, especially when you're playing on the road, which is what I hope we learned at Florida. We got off to a good start and then, started to, be pretty average in terms of how we executed and what we did. And the consequence was that as the other team gets the momentum of the game and comes back on you. So we have to be able to continue to get over the hump and keep playing in every game.
Coach, this team's no stranger to playing Alabama or even playing the top-ranked team. So does this team right now have what it takes to pull off the upset on Saturday? And what's that going to take?
If we practice well and play well, and we will. We have to go get a good plan. We have to practice it, and we have to perfect it during the week, and then we have to execute it on Saturday.
And is there any more, excitement or energy knowing that you guys have them at home and just to have a team like that at Kyle Field?
No, listen, every game to us as a player should be the same. Your opponents are faceless. That's great to be in a big game and all that, but you can't look at that. You have to play the same no matter what you do, how you do it, and how you prepare. Each and every week has to be exactly the same. And I know people don't believe that and don't think about it. If you're going to do it and do it well consistently, that's what you have to do.
Coach, obviously you're around Zach every day. Where do you think he is confidence-wise right now, and how do you make sure he gets?
I think he progressed in the game. There's just plays. Anytime you're the quarterback and you don't win, everything is going to be scrutinized. And every throw, you touch the ball every time. And there's some throws and plays he'd like to have back, surely. And that's mostly every quarterback you ever play. And unfortunately, if we'd have made one more play and won the game, maybe it wouldn't be pushed as much. But that's the world. Again, that's part of it. And I think he's learning, growing. I think his confidence. As you watch film with him, he understands things, and he's getting better and better each play. And and I think he believes in himself wholeheartedly, and I think our players believe in him.
Against Mississippi State, we saw Haynes King move off of his scooter and onto crutches on the sidelines. How is he progressing in his recovery and still staying on the playbook?
Oh, he's good. He's into every practice. I mean, he's in every play. If you'll look, he's talking to Zach every time he comes off the field, gaining information, helping, talking. I mean, Haynes is in every meeting, everything we do. He loves it. And I mean, he's healing, but it's going to be. He has to heal up. He has a broken ankle, so that doesn't just it'll be a long time. I think we're going to make sure he's fully healthy in the things he does, but he's progressing very nicely in what he's doing. But his mind is into the game plan, calls, meetings, helping, seeing, everything. He's doing everything he can possibly do.
Coach, when you guys go through a losing streak, even if it's just 2 games, how beneficial is it to have some veteran guys on the team to help keep morale in the locker room?
Well, you do, and guys have been through things and understand they're more mature and then understand that I always say things are never as good as they seem and never as bad as they seem. You have to, and if they're going to change, you have to change them. And I think the veteran guys help the young guys with that. Because I think young people get so outcome-oriented, just like everybody did. We come outcome-oriented, and the way you change the outcome is change the fundamental day-to-day process of being fundamentally sound and being able to play that way consistently, down in, down out. And like you say, the other day, if we make one more play, we're in good shape. But all those games, that's the way they all get to, whether you win them or lose them. If you'll go back and look at most of your games when you're playing the SEC competition or big competition, it gets down to 1 or 2 plays. And you got to be able to make them and execute at those key times. And I think older guys can help our young guys explain that to them and help them get through it.
All right, brother. So that's all I got on this episode. You got anything before we hop off the line?
No, man. I appreciate all the fan support coming out. The koozies will be in the mail later this week. Mm-hmm. If you got an iPhone, you got your brothers, sisters, mom, dads, doesn't matter. You're there at a family event this weekend, grab their damn iPhone, send in a 5-star review. We'll send you more koozies. You got one in there, well, hell, get 2 koozies. Get one for your wife. So, but anyway, I appreciate the effort everybody's done for us this week. I'm telling you, this has just been exciting. Watching the pod grow this year has been exciting. Watching the YouTube grow, it's just, I cannot wait to see what this thing looks like 5 years. You know, Dan may not be in Gainesville in 5 years, but by God, we will be. We'll be right here. So, and that's because of you guys.
Absolutely. Like Shane said, if you haven't already, check us out on the YouTube. We're right at 3,500 subscribers, and we just launched the thing. So we're posting daily video content over there, including press conferences and things. So it's not just the show, but we do appreciate each and every one of you for your continued support. And that's going to do it. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you, Mike. Go Vols.